start by asking all of you to take a mental note of what comes to your mind when you think of the word orchestra. Whatever you pictured, whether that's a visual or an experience, I want to talk about completely redesigning that image. I am not talking about minor changes. I'm talking about designing a completely new identity for orchestras. I think this is exciting, and it's essential for our society. So before I go into the details, I want to give you an idea of how I got here, why I care about music and about orchestras. It started when I was about in 5th grade, so I don't come from a musical family. My mom's a writer, and my dad's a scientist. And so in 5th grade, one day, some musicians came into our class, and I was completely mesmerized by the way different instruments could make different sounds. And I went home, and I was a total nerd from the very beginning. I told my mom and dad, I have to be in band. I have to do it. I have to play a musical instrument. And they were supportive, but later that year, the 6th grade band teachers came to our class to test our ears and our aptitude for music. And since I had never played a musical instrument before, I scored really low on this test, and they were like, okay, she can go on the waiting list for band. So I went home, and I was devastated. And my mom saw how upset I was, and so she wrote a letter to the band department and said, my daughter works really hard. She really wants to play flute, oboe, or clarinet. Do you think you could let her be in band? And they said, okay, she can play the French horn. So that's how, that's how I entered the world of music, and I was terrible. I remember in 6th grade, the girl who sat next to me would sit in her chair like this whenever I made a sound because my sound was really disgusting. So obviously I worked through that, and the music world pulled me in. And for me, the most transformative experience was when I sat in an orchestra for the first time. To me, the energy, the electricity that's created by a huge group of musicians playing together, that's magical. And it was magical when I was young, and it's still magical today, and that's something I want to share with everyone. But we have a problem. When I mention an orchestra, most people get a certain picture. It's a beautiful concert hall, musicians in tuxes, and certain customs, like you need to sit quietly and politely in your seats and clap at certain times. This is great for some people enjoy this, but not enough people enjoy it. And I think one of the main problems is that orchestras today in 2012 look just like orchestras in the early 1900s. So classical music as we know it has not modernized. So again, like I said, some people still like this custom, but it's a huge problem. And so the National Endowment for the Arts released a study that measured the live classical music participation in the US from 1982 to 2008. And basically, they looked at our country and they said, okay, how many people are going to these concerts and concert halls, and who are they? And so they reported a steady decline in participation, which we know has continued. This hits relatively close to home. RPO is doing well, but Syracuse Symphony recently folded, and Philadelphia Orchestras filed for bankruptcy. So when they looked at these, the audience base for classical music concerts, they found a couple things. They found out that classical music has created this incredibly narrow niche for itself. So most of the people who go to these concerts are on the older side. They're in the upper middle to upper class. They have a college education, and they're mostly white. So this is a problem. And before I go into how we can maybe fix this problem, I think we need to talk about why we should care. People who are musicians, who are artists, are already convinced. I went into music because I love it, and I can't imagine my life without it. So it's really about you. And so if you're not convinced yet, if you're kind of ambivalent and wouldn't really notice if orchestras disappeared, that's okay. But I want to change your mind, and I want to show you that if we make some major changes in orchestras, I think they can change our communities for the better. So let's consider some comparisons. When we look at the world of medicine, I think it's clear what the purpose is. The purpose of medicine is to heal, and doctors do an amazing thing. They make people healthy. When something's wrong, you go to a doctor, and they find out why. There's always been a demand for medicine and a demand for doctors, but when we make that parallel to the arts, we're kind of confused. Do they matter? How much do they matter? And so I think the thing is that it's not a matter of life and death. If orchestras disappeared, we'd all wake up the next day and basically still be able to function. But what we are dealing with is a quality of life. And I think the arts are essential, and they add to our quality of life. So let's consider the different ways they contribute to our society. I think one big question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we want to define our culture? And that's a tough question. what are the defining elements of American culture? And I think we have this huge technology boom, which is great. Social media is changing the way we communicate and connect. And basically, we have a screen with us at all times. We watch TV, we play video games, we use FaceTime, we're on Facebook. And that's not all entirely a bad thing, because this has led to rapid growth and innovation. But what about innovation in the arts? Is that something that we still view as essential to our culture? I hope so, because I personally don't want my generation to be defined by Facebook and Twitter. I think we're capable of finding more meaningful ways to connect. So let's consider the contributions that the arts make to our society. If we look at education, I think we can all agree that there's a high value in developing a creative learning environment. And that's true whether you're in preschool, high school, medical school, law school, or out in the professional world. We've seen evidence of this in Google and Apple. These people are intelligent and they're creative. And I really think it's the fusion of knowledge and creativity that leads to innovation. And the arts foster creativity. We rarely look at the contribution that the arts make to our economy. And I know that studies show that the nonprofit arts industry is actually an economic driver in communities because it supports jobs, tourism, and generates revenue. So here's what happens. The arts organizations spend a certain amount of money that contributes to the economy, and people and audiences, when they participate in the arts, make an even bigger contribution to the economy. So let's say you go to a great concert downtown, you buy your concert ticket, and you'll probably go to dinner beforehand and maybe go out for a drink afterwards. It's very clear that the arts contribute to a certain vibrancy within the city, which supports local businesses. But what do? When we're struggling for money or when the economy is suffering, the first thing to get cut is the arts, in education and in our community. So I think these reasons are some concrete reasons why the arts are important, but they're not the winning argument. I think that we actually don't need a list of reasons to justify the importance of art. It can exist on its own. We don't need graphs or statistics to tell us that art is important. So if we go back to the definition of heal and what doctors do, the definition that I found that I like the most is that to heal means to make whole. And the arts are a vital part of that. Music is capable of doing things that medicine can't do. Creativity is something so powerful that it can not only heal, but it can fuel innovation in all areas, in science, technology, business. Music can be something as simple as a break from everyday life. It can be a source of inspiration. It can be a way to connect. I can tell you what music means to me. Music has added meaning to my life. Music has helped me build confidence. It has taught me humility. Some of my greatest life experiences have been in music, and some of the most challenging. I think an orchestra overall is a symbol of community, a group of people working together to produce this amazing result. Isn't that something we want to replicate all over the community? I hope so. So what are we going to do about the problems facing orchestras today? I think we need to give music a clear purpose and provide a meaningful experience. And that purpose and experience can change depending on what concert we're doing. But for example, if the purpose of a concert is supposed to be engaging and entertaining, that's fine. But let's make sure we're applying that to orchestras. So I recently took a friend who we would call a non-musician to a concert at an orchestra hall. And before the concert even started, he was looking through the program and he said to me, Emily, you know, I'm 25 and I'm at a music concert and I'm looking at the program and all the advertisements are for nursing homes and hearing aids. and I was like, I don't know what to tell you. That's how it is. And the concert started and went on for a while. And he said, again, you know, like we're at a music concert, but people are sitting here like silent and stiff. You can only clap at a certain time. Shouldn't we be able to move with the music? And so we have to offer a different experience for our audiences. How are we going to do that? I think first we have to break down some assumptions. First of all, the word classical that we attach to music is a huge problem. Because really, an orchestra is just a body of musicians that's capable of playing any genre of music, whether that's music from the classical period or modern music or Latin or hip hop. Well, maybe, no, hip hop is possible. But I was going to say jazz. They're versatile. It's a versatile group of musicians. So the term classical is very limiting. And other assumptions include that this music is irrelevant, archaic, boring, and reserved for old, rich white people. I understand where those stereotypes come from. But here's the thing. Art, in of itself, it can't be elite. And it's not reserved for anyone, because it's about sex, drugs, love, hatred, fear, oppression. That's not elite, it's human. And one of the best things about art is that I think it breaks the boundaries of race, gender, and status. So here's what we did at Eastman. We created a mobile, accessible, community-driven orchestra that we hope can become a part of the cultural fabric of Rochester or any city. SoundExChange is a body of musicians that can go anywhere in any form, as a large orchestra or a small ensemble, to businesses, hospitals, schools, restaurants. Our goal for our first year, this past year, was to go to the university setting and provide a new experience with the students who might not normally go to a concert hall. So you'll notice there are several things that are different about that setup. The first thing we decided to do was, instead of having the audience watch the music from a distance, we decided to put them in the orchestra. So the audience can literally come to our concerts and choose where they sit. If you want to sit by a violinist or a tuba player, that's great. And to me, that was so important, because inside an orchestra is this amazing amount of energy. And I think an audience should feel that the whole time. That's what makes music magical. And so, we also decided that, okay, depending on where we go, instead of expecting the audience to fit into what we're doing, we need to make sure we fit into the environment we go to. So we connected with guest speakers, connected with different events on campus to make sure we were actually a part of the environment. We made the event social, so people could get food and drinks and bring that into the orchestra, because they should enjoy the music. So what's cool, some of you might recognize this place, but what's cool is that I think the orchestra became kind of like a problem solver. So our first concert was at the School of Medicine, and I met with the head of neurosurgery to ask him if he thought our idea of bringing music to new audiences was important, and would it be something that supported at the medical school. And he said, yes, please bring music here. This hospital needs culture. These people need a break from the grind of their jobs. And so we took an orchestra to a hospital. And why isn't this happening? Why can't the purpose of an orchestra be to go somewhere like a hospital and make someone's day better? Make the day better for a doctor, a patient, staff. That is possible. We took an orchestra to a dance studio at U of R. And so the dance students in a choreography class designed dance to go with music by Eastman composers. That way, dance students got to see what it was like to work with composers and dance with a live chamber orchestra on the stage. And we got to see what it was like to play, we got to see what the choreography process was like. When we went to the Simon School of Business, we got a similar response from the faculty. They said, please bring this music to us. Our students need exposure to creativity. And we went to a grungy art studio, also on campus. And so here, the arts department told us, yeah, we're putting on this event for Sage Fest, and it's going to be a new student exhibition. It's usually well received, but sometimes we have a hard time getting people to come. And so we squeezed an orchestra into one side of their art studio, and literally you could hear music pouring out of the building. And so people could come in, they could look at the art and hear the music resonating throughout the entire building. They could have a drink, they could come listen to the orchestra. The music was a part of the environment. And this is the result. It's pure joy, and it's this huge smile that I got when I was in high school, when I first sat in an orchestra, and this woman, who's much older, is able to get that same smile sitting in an orchestra. Her name is Suzanne Bell, and she said, I can't tell you what a special experience the concert was, truly magical. Sitting in the orchestra is an utterly transformative experience, an unbelievable thrill. And so our plan for the upcoming school year is to take SoundExChange out into the community. We want to use an orchestra as a platform for the community, for artists and art organizations. So I hope you'll consider investing in the arts. I hope you want to explore the world of music, because I think that if we make some major changes in orchestras, if we adjust the way they present music, I think they can make our communities better, and orchestras will be able to thrive. Thank you.